My journey stemmed from sexual trauma and shame. I test positive for the herpes virus, and at one point in my life, I thought that secret was here to destroy me. I remember I was on the beach and I was just like, why, God, would this happen to me? Why to me? I would rather die than live like this. And I remember hearing a voice saying, like, you get to learn how to love yourself from within, Rebecca. And I didn't know I was a life coach at the time, but 4 months later, this beautiful coaching business kicked off because so many women were like, oh my God, you're finally a voice for the very thing that I have been terrified to own my whole life. And that was like my stake in the sand moment of I will never turn back and live a life fueled by shame. I will never put a mask on and pretend I'm someone that I'm not for the sake of belonging.
Hello friends, I have a really quick favor to ask. We are honored that you are listening to this show and I hope you're enjoying it, but we can make it even better with your help. If you like, subscribe, and share Radical Health Radio, we promise to make it even more radical. Your support means the world. Let's get back to it. All right, Rebecca Antonucci, welcome to the show. A fellow podcaster from a different side of the world, but I feel like English and Aussie people have so much in common. I spent a year in Australia. I absolutely loved it. You're from the west coast of Australia, right? How'd you land in Austin, Texas?
Yeah, I'm from Perth, Western Australia. I was actually born in England.
Oh, no way.
Not a lot of people know this about me.
Where about?
I probably don't want to say out loud. In Flitwick, Bedford.
Okay, yeah, right on.
And so
That's random.
It is very random. And we moved 6 months after I was born to Perth, Western Australia. And my teachers, who have been my teachers for almost a decade, brought their workshops to Perth. And they now live in Austin. And just a huge community of us have migrated here.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, this thing that is happening in Austin. I saw you post about it the other day. You were kind of describing what has become known as the tall poppy syndrome in England and in Australia, because we have a very similar cultural outlook in life, it seems. I think England, we made a big mistake of shipping you all off to the convicts off to Australia because we put you on the most beautiful island, but you're pretty far out there. And maybe this idea of being an island in the middle of nowhere, disconnected from the rest of the world, creates this tall poppy syndrome thing where it's not always celebrated to see somebody breaking off and doing something cool and on their own. It's a culture that's quite, they want to tear other people down, right? And you were commenting on that on your profile, that you feel the difference here. It's more celebratory here.
Yes. And it could be Austin specific, because I have had American women say I'm not having that same experience. So maybe that's true, because I have been in Austin for 2.5 years. But what I've recognized in Australia is it doesn't feel like people are celebrated in the trying. They're only celebrated once they've made it. And there's a lot of fear of judgment and a lot of feedback in being seen to try. And so in America, my different experience here is people ask, how can I support you?
Right.
They talk about what I'm doing. They will connect me with you and be like, you need to meet Rebecca. And Rebecca, you need to meet Steve, because both of you are podcasters and you two could get together. And I just think it would be so incredible. And just to recognize how much people want to connect, want to support, and want to uplift, it's just a very foreign experience.
Yeah. That difference with how people introduce their friends here is so palpable. Yeah. Because at home, if I was to go out with my old group of friends and we met a new group of friends, they'd be like, oh, this is Steve. He pissed the bed when he was 17 years old. And it would just be this attempt to deprecate, and banter, all in the name of banter. But here it's like, oh, Steve has this really cool podcast and you guys would love each other. I'm going to connect you this way. And it's just it's so refreshing.
It's like you're edified and uplifted and encouraged and celebrated.
Yeah.
Versus Australia, my experience of Australia and the UK is that we don't have that.
Yeah.
That culture is not celebrated yet.
Yeah. If you could impart something from Australia and plop it into Austin culture, what would it be?
The ocean.
That's a pretty big one.
Life would be great.
That's a pretty big one.
Well, I mean, we have, where I'm from, we have a strong health and fitness culture there, which I know that we have here in Austin. What do I love about Australia? I do love Australia and I love Australians. What would I impart? That's a really great question. Better coffee.
Yeah, the coffee. Yeah.
Better coffee. And it's a very outdoors lifestyle, which I've thoroughly enjoy.
Yeah, I noticed that when I lived in Australia, not just the level of coffee was off the charts.
Yeah.
Brunch, poached eggs, or the sourdough, everything was so good. And the coffee was amazing. But it definitely felt like people appreciated more of the work-life balance in Australia. They were always trying to get outside and, make a coffee date last a little bit longer, go for a walk by the beach, go for a walk by the ocean. And that, if there's a downside to American culture, as much as it's like rah, rah, and go and you can do big things, it's also just like you live to work here.
Yeah,
it's non-stop, right? Yeah. You've just got to be on the fucking go. And that can be exhausting at times.
Yeah. In America, I don't feel like I'm a big personality. In Australia, I feel like I'm one of the biggest personalities that are there.
Yeah.
I even call my family and I'm like, I'm not loud in America. Like, this is like being in the zoo as an Australian person, like, whoa, these people are wild. And I love that everyone's getting after it. I guess there is a part of me in Australia that can relax because there isn't that constant go, go, go. Yeah. And there is a little more of a relaxed nature. So intertwining the two could be powerful.
I think you're onto something there. I think like an English Aussie extrovert is an American introvert. Yeah. There's just like levels to the game. So my first real kind of exposure to the rah-rah of American culture, I would have been about 19 and I got a job at a summer camp. Mm-hmm. And I remember they had like staff orientation and I was kind of nervous and I was historically quite a very self-conscious young lad. So definitely not extroverted. Didn't do things like dancing and self-expression. Absolutely not. You don't do that if you're from the northwest of England. That's very gay, So I've got to do that. And all of a sudden I'm in this summer camp in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania, and all of these Americans are like singing Don't Stop Believing at the top of their lungs, clapping on the benches, dancing. They're having tight and bright nights where we play dodgeball and everybody's dressed up. And I was just like, what is this place? But it rubbed off on me in the best kind of way because it broke me out of my shell. It really forced me to, I think I'd have that same experience now, actually. I've not been home in a minute, but if I went home, I would be an outlier now at home. But here it's just like, just another person trying to do something cool.
Yeah, here I'm like, I actually get to take up space more.
Right.
Because everyone, like no one's intimidated by my bigness. No one's intimidated by my capacity to be seen, express. I remember going to the gym and it feeling like a football match. Like I walk into a gym class and the guys walk in, they're slapping each other's bums, they're cheering, everyone's like getting ready to go. I'm like, this is like grand final day in Australia. This is just a Friday at the gym in America. What is happening here? Yeah. I love it, but it's just so different. Like you get to a gym in Australia, everyone's quiet.
Yep.
I'm like, guys, come on, like where's the energy? Let's go.
Yeah. Chris Williamson, fellow Brit dominating the podcast scene, says Americans have constant cocaine energy. That's just what they vibe off of. Whereas I think we need a little bit of a kickstart in our culture.
That's so funny. My old assistant, she's a recovered meth addict and I've never smoked meth before. And I said to her once, what is it like to smoke meth? Like, what does it feel like? And she goes, oh, well, it just reminds me of being like you. And I was like, what? Wow. She's like, you're like constant on energy is why I smoked meth. You've just naturally got it. And I was like, crazy. That's the greatest compliment I've ever received.
Thank you. Yes, I am a productive meth head, actually. Thank you very much. All right, talk to me about sex, love, and money. That's the name of your podcast. Yes. And I want to get into those areas because they're juicy and powerful and they bring up all kinds of emotions and deep feelings. But what encouraged you to start talking about those publicly and launch a podcast about that?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Well, my journey is stemmed from sexual trauma and shame. And I was suffering silently with this huge secret that I never wanted anyone to know. And that's that I test positive for the herpes virus. And at one point in my life, I thought that secret was here to destroy me. And I did everything that I could to mask it and band-aid it and pretend it didn't live inside of me and do everything that I could to heal naturally so that no one could ever know this bad, awful, terrible thing about me. That's what I thought about it at the time. And my life was just falling to shambles, even though I felt so powerful internally. No pieces of the jigsaw clicked together whilst I was still fueled and living from shame. And so the biggest piece of my growth journey had been healing that and giving a voice to that and realizing that I could declare that publicly and powerfully and still love and accept myself and still be loved and accepted and celebrated by others and not be rejected from the pack or community. And I didn't know I was a life coach at the time, but 4 months later, this beautiful coaching business kicked off because so many women were like, oh my God, you're finally a voice for the very thing that I have been terrified to own my whole life. And that was like my stake in the sand moment of I will never turn back and live a life fueled by shame. I will never put a mask on and pretend I'm someone that I'm not for the sake of belonging. And so that's where the business was birthed, and sex being such a heavy influence of it. I mean, that's where the pain was created. And also that's what human beings desire to experience with each other when in love. And so that just became such an essence of my brand. I think sex and love and money are just three of the most powerful vehicles and energies that we can work with. We can work with them in unhealthy ways, and we can work with them in really powerful ways. I feel like people have a strong desire for it, and we go out to try and achieve it in ways that don't serve us. And then when we're really connected to our own truth and we're experiencing each of those three things in alignment with who we really are, it's just such a beautiful way to live life.
Yeah, absolutely. Abundance is a good term for it. I know you've been talking a lot about nervous system recently.
Yes.
I know this has been a deep part of your journey and what you try and give to other people. I'm really curious to dig into that shame piece that you were talking about, because I think to live in shame is so heavy. People don't even realize it if they're in it sometimes, because they're rationalizing all the ways in which they can't shine the light on this thing because it will crush them or destroy them. I remember reading Brené Brown years ago, but she said something that just stuck with me, like some things do. And she said, I've never met a person that made a positive, lasting change from a place of shame. They have to get to acceptance of it first. And usually that means bringing it out of the closet and saying, this is this dark, awful, scary thing I've been hiding from the world and everyone. And here it is in all of its guts and glory. And what's usually funny, it can sometimes be a very positive, transformative experience. It sounds like it was kind of like that for you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I always say we can't shame ourselves into great change, and we can't judge ourselves into great change. And I believe that on the other, like nature rewards risk and courage.
Yes.
Life rewards risk and courage. And so for me, if shame is there, the most beautiful lens that we could look at it through, if we're not willing and ready to accept it yet, is just curiosity. Like, oh, I'm experiencing shame around this thing that I think, this thing that I feel, this thing that I do. And rather than shaming and judging and wronging myself for it, it's just a pattern. And the pattern is there just to keep me safe. And so even if it's not healthy, it's actually trying to do a good thing, even if it's not an action that I really desire to take or a thought that I really desire to hold about myself. So if I can start looking at it through the lens of curiosity and explore why it might be there and what it thinks it is protecting me from, and then get curious about, if I was to have the courage to actually reveal this piece of me, what might be possible. I believe that great change is on the other side of it. So much so that I was reflecting on my year in 2025, and I had a good year and I did hard things and it was great. And I lived in nice places and Bali and Australia and Austin, cool podcasts, awesome retreats. And I just didn't feel fulfilled in my year. And I was like, why? When it was such a great on paper year, people turning around, oh, people would love your life, Rebecca. You're like travel, freedom, global lifestyle, like you're living the dream. And I reflected on all my pictures when I was doing my 2025 recap, and I was like, no, unfulfilled. Like it was good, but not it. And I realized I didn't act from courage. I didn't do anything brave. And my life was a reflection of that. Yet when I act from courage and bravery and take big risks, boom, the expansion that's on the other side of that is so enormous. And the evidence that I have is that every brave thing that I courageously faced off with that I didn't want to face off with, the sexual shame, that created massive transformation in my life. So yet again, I'm like, okay, like strap in, let's go, act with courage, because the life of your dreams is on the other side of that. Yes,
very well said. I fully agree. That resonates a lot with my journey as well.
Yeah.
So realizing that in reflection, and then get into the precipice, if you will, of, okay, I've maybe not been acting as courageous as I could have been. What does that mean? Like what did you find in that place? How do you continue to act more courageous? Was there something that was obvious, or are you kind of waiting for that to reveal itself? How are you playing small? How are you shrinking? Where could you expand?
I think courageous across, I think number one, what's important is that people define what success is for them. And for me, it's home. I'm on my way to Austin, Texas with my visa. And then it's meeting my man, just being really ready to love and love him the way that he deserves to be loved, opening my heart, creating a community of incredible women around me who I love and adore and inspire and aspire to be like, and celebrate and lift up, and having them do the same for me. So it's just a different success to like build a business and make the money and acting courageously in all of those domains. So for me, courage is really just like living with an open heart, revealing my truth, saying what's true for me and putting my heart on the line, even if it might not be able to be met by the person or people that I want it to be met by. I built a podcast set here over the past week. I was courageous in asking really high profile guests. It was a huge investment. Things could go wrong. It would be easier just to walk into a studio, press the on button, press the off button and walk out. But I decided that's not courageous. Playing it safe isn't courageous. Investing 100 G's into a visa, that's pretty courageous. So the set the past week, pretty courageous. Asking big name guests, courageous.
Yes.
And knowing that I have the capacity to, produce Chris Williamson style.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not Chris Williamson level yet, acting courageously enough to believe that I can.
Yeah.
And going after it.
And you said the key word, which is yet.
Yet.
Right? Not yet, but the only way to get there is through the messy action, the reps, the risks, the courage that it takes to actually take. I always say this, but it's a leap of faith.
Yes.
Not a leap of safety.
Yes.
Not a leap of guarantee. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Rumi said leap and the net shall appear. He didn't say just leap because it's all figured out and you're going to be totally safe. I mean, if it was that easy, and it wouldn't be valuable, right? And that's kind of, I get the essence of talking to other people that are doing radical things and the kind of messages they put out online. That's the call to action in the biggest way is whatever vehicle for transformation we use. I could call it health coaching. You could call it this coaching. It's really just encouraging people to do the most what is right in their heart, courageous thing, because that's what's holding most people back, right? Yes. But you have to have something that underpins that. Like you've said, self-belief, capacity, faith, because it is a surrender experiment. You are just jumping into the abyss. Have you always had that? Has that been something that you've slowly developed? Is that beyond yourself? What about your spiritual belief systems and things like that? What supports you in that faith element?
Yeah, it reminds me of my favorite quote, and the end of it says, diving into the abyss and realizing that it's a feather bed.
Oh, nice. That's good.
I think that might be Terence McKenna. But where it came from, I was raised by a very loving, very strict, very controlling helicopter Italian father.
Nice.
Who never wanted his daughters to grow any older than age 10 and would love us to still relate to him as if we were 10-year-old little girls. And so I was sent to a private all-girls school. I wasn't allowed to have a mobile phone. I wasn't allowed to catch public transport. Was not allowed to talk to boys. Was not allowed to go to parties. Was not allowed to drink alcohol. So all of this felt incredibly controlling. And not from a controlling, mean kind of controlling way, but his intention was keep my baby girls safe.
Yeah, pure.
Loving father. I had such an ache for freedom because of that level of control that I believe that it created a big capacity for risk resilience, because anything that comes on my path that feels like it's trying to cage me, whether it's my own beliefs or something external of myself, that's why I never worked well having a boss, working to a schedule that someone else has created for me. Anything that feels like it's caging me, my expression, my emotions, just my full authentic self being online, there is a part of me that aches for freedom so bad that I'm willing to charge forward at it. And, that's a blessing and a curse, because sometimes I could probably be a little more thoughtful about some of the big risky actions that I take. But that's where I believe that it stems from. Yeah. Because my sister was raised very differently. She's younger. They were not strict on her. She didn't have to go to an all-girls school.
Interesting.
She could go to parties. She could drink alcohol. She could talk to boys. She was allowed to use my ID to go underage nightclubbing. My parents would drop her off to the nightclub. And so she doesn't have a value for risk.
Very interesting.
In fact, she's terrified of it.
Yeah.
And so 2 daughters, same parents, different parenting.
Yes.
And I'm risk it for the biscuit. And if I crash and burn, I'll just start again.
Oh, that is so good. It's making me think of my kids too. There's something in parenting called I guess the best name for it is something like the second child syndrome.
Yes.
Because you kind of nurture, protect, try and keep pure and baby your first kid so much. And by the time the second one comes around, you've kind of made those, whatever. And he's just so much more feral, And then you start thinking about long-term implications of that. And it's interesting because that's just the karmic predicament, It's just the path. And I'm fascinated by this tension between what sometimes we see as our wounds, if you will, become our wisdom, like our gifts in in the future when we can integrate them in that way. But it also, this is coming now through a lens of experience a little bit. And I imagine when you lacked that experience, when you finally got the permission to be free, you probably was just like out of the cage. You don't have much life experience. Did you reject the control? So did you get yourself into any sticky situations or trouble? Did you take it too extreme and now you're walking it back a little bit? Where's the balance there in growing up?
I mean, like in my young 20s, I would get way too drunk because I just wouldn't know the difference. I'd go from 0 drinks to absolutely trashed and not know how I got there. So that's probably the one place I was like, oh, I wish I was more cautious with my safety back then. I would start a business and put all my savings into it and not know how to run a business, and move to Bali at 25 and then run out of money in 6 weeks and come back with my tail between my legs, like, and just no forward thinking beyond like, I'm just going to try something and give it a shot. And so I've definitely made financial investments that I was like, yeah, just like throw some cash at this thing and it'll work. So those things in my 20s, the places that I was a bit reckless. And now, no, in my 30s, I think the Facebook Live to the internet, talking about my sexual shame, that was the thing that I thought was here to destroy me. And once I did that and I was like, well, millions of people on the planet live silently and will never use their voice around that. And I'm just here on the internet doing the thing. That to me just created just like this like weapon in my back pocket of, oh, whoa, I thought that was so bad and so awful and something that I could never overcome. And I did. And not only did I overcome it, I turned it into gold. And I turned it into gold not only for myself, but for thousands of women all over the world. So like, if I can do that, and that felt impossible at one point in my life, surely any other thing that feels hard, I could just apply the same principles to and experience breakthrough. And the other part, I feel like I'm like 50% feminine, 50% masculine. It's like powerfully integrated, and that's what I love about myself. But the masculine within me has such a logical view that if you can break through something and create result, but I'm going through the thing that you've broken through, then I just need to go and find the person that's done it and ask you how so that you can teach me. And if I follow the steps, I'm going to get breakthrough as well. Like you're no different to me. I'm no different to you. And like no one's any more special. If someone's a millionaire, I can become a millionaire. If someone's an entrepreneur, I can do that. If someone's breakthrough sexual health shame, I can do that. If someone's fallen in love, I can do that. If someone's been mad with men and then become the most phenomenal wife on the planet, I can do that.
Yes.
So why not find the people who've done it and figure it out? Ask them for help.
Such a healthy perspective, because I think there are two kinds of people. They look at somebody that's done something that they might want, and they are either inspired, and it invokes them with this like, why not me? If they could do it, I could do it too. Or they're envious and resentful, and they make up all kinds of stories about how, well, that's cool for them, but I couldn't do this because of X, Y, and Z. And that being able to alchemize like you did and share your story, because it gives people permission to, hopefully say, why not me, is so liberating, and it's so empowering, and it's so meaningful. But it's also, I just wish there was like some kind of magic pill we could equip people with to get out of that victim mindset of like, well, that's not me. And I was thinking about this the other day. I was having a conversation with one of my friends here about, envy in other people's lifestyles, because like you might have messages that come in like, you lived such an amazing lifestyle. I would kill for your lifestyle, Rebecca. You're jet setting around the world. So if you're getting those messages that are celebratory, that's awesome. But you can guarantee there's probably dozens of women that are like, this fucking bitch, like she's so lucky. And what that envy really is that they feel to you is a mirror to themselves of the unlived potential projected onto you.
Yes.
Because what they're really getting triggered by is, that could be me if I was willing to do the work, if I was willing to go get the mentor, if I was willing to share my shame, if I was willing to alchemize in the way that Rebecca did. And I think that's just a really important reframe to try and invite people into. Now, the kind of person that listens to self-development style podcasts, they're probably on board with that message. But hopefully, this gets out there to other people that are a bit challenged and a bit triggered by that, and just try a different point of view on for size sometimes. Like, if somebody did something really cool, it's not just because they were special or genetically gifted or a Nepo baby or blessed. Some of those things could be true, but also it is a permission slip that you could do that too. And I think that's so important.
Yeah, I think women in my community get caught up on the first step being the step and needing to take the right step. And then my DMs right now are like women messaging me saying, I wish I could move to America like you are. I'm like, well, you can invest in an entrepreneur visa. I'm not there. I don't have a business yet. But when the pandemic hit, when I started my business, 4 months prior, I'd closed down an activewear. I was in a ton of personal debt, 4 credit cards, a car loan, a legal bill, fighting my business partner at the time. I could barely pay my rent. I started my coaching business from minus almost $100,000.
Yikes.
And so I've had a radical transformation from 2020 to 2026. And so if I can do it from rock bottom, shame, no cash, like minimal resources, but still, like, we live in the Western world. We're so much more privileged than what we actually tell ourselves that we are. Like, you've got a laptop. We've all got mobile phones. If you're listening to this right now, no matter what you think your financial position is, you're listening to an podcast right now on a device right now. Like, you're not going hungry today.
Yeah.
You're not sleeping on the streets today. We are very, very, very privileged. If I could create this life from that rock bottom, I've literally proved that you don't need as many resources as you think that you need to create great result and great success. It might not happen tomorrow, but if you don't take a step, nothing's going to happen. But if I've done it in 6 or 7 years, and now I could teach someone to, like, compress all of that time because I don't need to create the same mistakes as I did.
There you go.
Other people have done it. So it might take you 2 or 3, but at least in 2 or 3 years' time, you're going to be where you want to be if you start today.
Yeah. How important do you think do you feel like it's almost necessary for people to go through adversity? Because when I was learning about your story, the debt, the sexual trauma, the being hit by your boyfriend, the botched boob job, the, just like hit after hit, I feel like sometimes that breaks a person.
Yes.
And you somehow, like, proverbially was like the phoenix. The phoenix rises from the ashes after it burns. There was like many little ceremonial deaths in this rising. And, it seems that people are either made or broken by those things. But in your work with other people and such, do you see that it's kind of necessary? Is it a necessary formula to have to go through some shit to really dig out what you're possible?
I mean, I think so. I think if I was willing to ask myself at the time, what am I avoiding, and really look at it, I believe that I could have prevented those things from occurring. But I was avoiding parts of myself. I was avoiding, I was horrifically bullied as a teenage girl in a very prestige high school in Perth, Western Australia, called the most nasty names, and I attempted to take my own life. And I didn't realize that created a core wound of rejection. I was running from that. And so I was trying to do all the things that could make me feel safe with women, create belonging for myself and feel accepted. I wanted to be beautiful and wealthy like the popular girls. So I thought if I created that would make me feel good.
Yeah.
That's what then I end up in relationship with a man, because I was avoiding the pain of rejection. Maybe I'll experience acceptance with a man. Well, that man punches me in the head with a closed fist. And that's how we broke up, because I was avoiding the pain of the rejection from the women. So now I'm rejected by both men and women.
Ouch.
Then I go to the gym. Well, if I change my body, now everyone's going to love me. And I did change my body. I turned into a little fitness model with this little 8-pack. All of a sudden, everyone around me started to be really, really insanely nice to me. I was addicted to it. I hadn't been used to people just giving me compliments, asking me out. Facebook was new, Facebook friends everywhere, invited to parties. It just felt so good to my system, because when you were being nice to me, I knew that you weren't going to bully me and you weren't going to punch me.
Felt safe.
But I was avoiding the pain still. So that had an expiry date, which was an eating disorder. And so once I started binge eating food and then throwing it up and drinking bottles of laxatives, it was because I was avoiding the pain still. Oh, well, a boob job will fix me. Of course, that's going to go horribly wrong, because I'm still not willing to look at the thing that I'm running for. Like, it's like I set myself up entirely.
Yeah.
Boob job. Then the boyfriend that I break up with, and the first man that I sleep with, I'd slept with less than a handful of men at this point. I thought sex was so sacred. And the man that I sleep with promises me he's STI free and hands me over the herpes virus. Well, of course, because I was still avoiding the very thing. So all of these things are just saying, look within.
Wow.
Learn to love yourself. Like, your love for self isn't found externally. It's not found in what you look like. It's not found in whether you validate me or not. It's internal.
Yes.
And so until I was willing to address that, those things were going to continue to happen. Maybe if I'd addressed it earlier, the boob job and the herpes virus wouldn't have needed to happen, but I needed to address what I was running from.
And then it wouldn't be half the story that it is now.
Yes, exactly.
So it is what it is, you know.
Exactly. I needed to write a book at some point, so
yeah,
there are all the chapters.
There you go. You've got a story. Everybody needs a story. Peter Crone's got this wonderful quote that life is constantly presenting you with the people, situations, and circumstances to show you where you're not yet free.
Yes.
And then when you were saying that, that's kind of ringing for me, because that's what it is. Like, if you can take it as that, if you can eventually get to the point where you're like, oh, maybe all this stuff that I'm trying to get from out there, outside of myself, needs to be insourced first.
Yeah.
And then that starts the journey then. Because I, in a not too dissimilar way, one of my core beliefs at the time was, if I just get jacked, everything will figure itself out. So I set off on that endeavor. And I got kind of jacked. And I got lean. I had a six-pack. I was like, okay, sweet, it's going to be awesome now, right? Wrong. Because I hadn't fixed the underlying insecurity that was driving that. So now I was just neurotic with a six-pack. You know, and you could argue that's a little bit better, because if you're going to be neurotic, you might as well be jacked. But that was what started me having to go inwards also. Where did you begin on that journey when you really had that revelation? What was it? Was it meditation? Was it a retreat? Was it a certain teacher?
It was Landmark Forum. I remember I was on the beach and was just like, why, God, would this happen to me? Why to me? I want to die. I like literally was like, I would rather die than live like this. And I felt really terrified. And I remember hearing a voice saying, like, you get to learn how to love yourself from within, Rebecca. And I was like, what is that noise?
Who said that?
Who said that? Why are you saying this to me? I'm like, no, death would be easier than this. And then at the time I was dating a boxer, and he was gorgeous and he was ripped and he was just beautiful. And I thought so many wonderful things about him. And I had never told a man the truth about the severity of my disordered eating. I don't know why. I just felt called to share that with him. And I told him, and he said, oh, Beck, I understand. Like, I've gone through that too. And at the time, fueled by my own shame, I just thought everything was me. Like, herpes, me. Eating disorder, me. Compulsive eating, me. Bottles of laxatives, only me. I'm this bad, awful person that no one else would be doing this. But one of my teachers says what's most personal is most universal.
Ooh.
So when this beautiful man told me that he totally understands what I'm going through, I was like, what? How? You? Like, you're a boxer. You're gorgeous. You're like one of the most beautiful men I've ever seen. He was like, yeah. And I went to this workshop and it supported me to change. And if you would like me to take you, I'll take you. And so this to me was like, is God just like offering me a hand right now to say, come on? And so, yeah, he took me to Landmark Forum, and I signed up to that. And not that I'm advocating to do that work, but I'm grateful that it was my first step into personal development. And what I loved about it is I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And behind closed doors, I felt like I got to see all of these very successful people who had what I thought that I wanted to work towards to achieve success in life, but they were feeling about themselves the same way that I was feeling about myself, yet they were 20 years older than me. So I remember sitting there thinking, like, I don't want to work for everything they have, thinking that's going to be my fix. And I still feel like them when I feel like them right now. But I loved the fact that I got to see behind the veil, like, whoa, all humans, lots of humans are feeling the way that I'm feeling about themselves, their life, their sexual health, their relationships, the things they've done, the things they wish they hadn't done. And that to me was just I became addicted of like, well, is this what truth looks like? Because I want to be around this more. And that was the beginning.
Yeah, it really is the same bad trip for all of us. And sometimes we just need to see it in other people, you know, like, I think we do mistake thinking it's just us sometimes.
Yes.
We're on an island, and then, you know, you get that little God nod or that person or that beautiful boxer on the beach or whatever it is. And you're like, wait a minute, there's other people navigating this too. And it's just, it's inspirational. You know, your pain can become your purpose. And I think, you know, so many of us coaches, we come from the archetype of like the wounded healer. We want to help so badly because we were so wounded at one point. And we just don't want people to suffer that. Because when you've been crying at the beach, like, I'd rather be dead, honestly, than feel this anymore. It sucks so fucking bad. And if you can save someone from that, it would be the best gift you could give to the world. But we can only give that to the people once we've like come through the other side and integrated it. Paul Chek says you can only take a client on a journey as far as you've been.
Yes.
And I mean, in a, I guess, thankful way, your journey took you really deep. You know, like the deeper you go down, the higher you can go up. It's all like a boomerang. So that's why, you know, that's why I was interested to speak to you, because there's wisdom in people that have been through some shit, you know, because that's where you find out what you're made of. You don't find out what you're made of when it's all sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah. I mean, I'm grateful for the capacity that I have to hold a big life and feel the bigness of what's coming. And I really attest that to what I've been through. And like I shared before, I feel like it's a weapon in our back pocket of like, well, whatever comes across my path, that's not certain or predictable. Like women always come to me like, but how can I be certain that if I jump, the net will appear? How can I be certain that if I leave the almost good enough guy that my true love is out there? How can I be certain if I'm single at 40 that I definitely will have the babies that I ache for? And nothing is certain. Like we don't know what's happening in the next hour of our lives. We think we do. But what we can be certain about is our self-trust and our willingness to know that, well, life is unpredictable. We don't know what's going to happen, but I can be certain that I have the capacity to hold myself through whatever shows up.
Bingo.
I could fall in love. He could leave me at 41 before we get married and I've not yet had babies. I don't know. I can't control another human. But will I be able to hold myself through it? Yeah. Is it what I want to happen? No. But will I be able to be with me if shit doesn't go the way that I want things to go? Yes. Yeah. That's the work.
It's very powerful. Say power follows the blame finger. If you need everything out there to go right, then you know you're kind of missing the point because you're dead on. We don't know anything. We take things way too much for granted. We just assume that there's a guarantee that there will be a tomorrow. Yeah. But there's probably thousands of people that went to bed last night thinking there will be tomorrow that didn't wake up this morning. Or many people on the commute this morning that were going to go home to their families and never made it back. Like we just don't know. That's the fickleness of life. Yes. And if we give too much power to all that out there, you know, them and what they say or their approval, it's playing a very dangerous game. You have to insource that. You have to turn that finger right back around, point it at itself and just say, what am I in control of? Nothing's guaranteed, but I can promise myself that I'll show up in this way. I'll do these things. I'll say these things. I'll be these things.
Yeah. And I love that you said it's just a game. I am obsessed with paddle. I love racket sports. Obsessed. And it's like gone quite crazy in Bali. And there's a great paddle culture here in Austin, Texas as well. And I was listening to a Roger Federer speech to a college campus. And one of the things that he said is it's just one shot. It's just one shot. That's a mentality that you get to have. And then he went on to explain that of his singles matches, and he's a Grand Slam champion, he's Roger Federer, he won 80% of his singles matches. But do you know how many winning shots of his 80% of wins he actually took? 53%. So he said when you're a Grand Slam champion that has won 80% of your matches, yet you only win 53% of your winning shots, you start to realize that every point is just 1 point and every hit is just one hit. And if I'm caught up on the last shot because I lost it, I don't get to be present to the next shot. Yeah. And so this to me was just like a, whoa, eye-opening. I can't believe I'm hearing this right now. I don't know if it's landing for anyone else who's listening, but to know that he only won 53% of the shots, but 80% of his games showed me that we get so fixated on wanting to win every single shot and get every single step right, but we could still lose 47% of our shots in life and get 80% of the results that we want.
That's almost a 50-50 shot, right? That's basically what he was saying. So when there's that, it reminds me of the Wayne Gretzky quote that you miss all the shots you don't take. Yeah. Because that's the other side of that coin that you're talking about. If people are waiting for it to feel perfect or it has to be right, they don't take the shot and then you guarantee you miss. So you've gone from a 50-50 shot to 100% chance that you will miss and then nothing will change.
With the expectation that you win every shot. I think that's where we're like, my podcast said over the past couple of days, some things went wrong. Not the way that I wanted them to go. But I would still say 80% of my shots over the past 3 days were winning. Yeah. 20% losses. And I'm like, well, Rebecca, Roger Federer only got 53%. Yeah. So like, don't expect that you're going to, because my personality can get caught up on the 20 and be like, if that had just gone right and my perfect right way. But to actually be in acceptance of to try and be willing to try is the breakthrough. Yeah. That to me is going to be the greatest gift to creating the life of our dreams and the life that we say that we're here for.
100%. And I think it's a human condition that we have to work very hard to become aware of, to break free of. We know it's an evolutionary psychology term that we have negativity bias. Yes. Our brain and our perception, our awareness is hardwired to focus on the misses and discounting the wins. We could have an amazing day yesterday. When you reframe it and you can zoom out, you're like, actually, you know what? 80% of that was awesome. But if you let your brain run amok, it's going to focus 100% of its attention on the 20% of the misses.
Yeah.
And then you leave feeling like a piece of shit until you go, wait a minute. Let me reframe this for a minute. A couple of things went wrong, whatever that means. But a lot went right. And that just adds to the story. And if you transition from this loser's mindset to this learner's mindset, why did they go wrong? Oh, because those files were massive. So do we need bigger memory cards or do we need a different system? Now you take something that you otherwise would just leave as a loss and I suck and I'm never going to make it to, okay, well, next time, here's what we're going to do. Yeah. And then the 80% becomes 85 and 90 and we get closer and closer and closer, always striving, but new levels, new devils. Yes. You'll have bigger sets and bigger guests and more things will go wrong. And that's the name of the game.
Yes. And I really just want women or men, whoever's listening to this right now, to be committed to that, because to rewind back to what I said, when women come to me and say they want to change their life, they just want to make sure that the next step that they take, the next shot that they take is a win. And I really think that is the cock block in life, from meeting the man, from building the business, from leaving the hometown. If you want the first step to be the step, like to get from A to Z, you got to go through the entire alphabet.
Yeah.
So A might be right. It's going to be a step forward. Life's going to provide you with feedback, and then you can course correct and take another step.
A teacher told me years ago, I had it up here on a little sticky note on my computer for so long. I think you'll like this a lot. It was just a cool little acronym, HILA. High intention, low attachment.
Yes.
Just show up to everything that you do with the highest intention to give it everything that you've got and the lowest attachment to what that gets you. Yeah. Not, I'm going to do all of this because I will find Mr. Right, or this podcast will do 1 million plays. Yeah. Because it's Buddha's first law. Life is suffering, and the reason we suffer is because we're attached.
Yeah.
So as soon as I like this needs to go a certain way, I can bring high intention and high attachment, but that's a recipe for suffering. Yeah. I need to work on that low attachment piece, which gives me a little bit of a permission to, not every shot does have to be the winning shot. I just need to focus and trust that if I show it with my highest attention, then what will transpire will be for the good of all, even if it's not on my timeline. Even if it doesn't look exactly like I wanted it to look, it is conspiring eventually to be in my favor. That's the grand conspiracy of life. I love a conspiracy theorist. You know what the best one is?
What one?
Life is conspiring to help you. It wants you to win.
Yeah.
But only if you're working in the flow of life itself.
Yes.
If you try and build dams and structure and safety around like life that's trying to flow all around you, you don't win because you're not working with the energy of life itself, you know?
Yeah, I've had a friend that I've known for a decade, and our relationship from December to recently just shifted for a period of time where it became like more loving and intimate than what we'd experienced prior. And the energy was just like so there. And recently, literally this morning, we were like, oh, I think we're back to friends now. But it was such a beautiful reminder that it was such a gift for energy to rise and me not resist it and be willing to go with it to find the gift that was available in the experience. For then the energy to like naturally come to its completion and be able to reflect and experience myself in the courageous act of going with energy and not trying to force it into a direction that I need it to go or he needs it to go. And it was just such a gift to my life. And it reminds me of how powerful it is to trust yourself, because when you do trust yourself, you will then trust the energy of life.
That's right.
Because then you can go wherever it's taking you.
That's right. Yeah, well said. So sex, love, and money. You frame those early in the conversation as like three of the most powerful forces, like energetically.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I think I'm picking up what you're putting down. Money is an interesting one for people to think of it as energetics.
Yeah.
Because for some people, it's just so transactional. It's like, well, I do this and I get this. How are you lumping money into the sex and love equation as an energetic force, let's say?
I would say money has been one of my greatest core wounds of my life. And something that my little girl has wanted to make sure that everyone around her feels safe, that my teenager has wanted to make herself look cool, and that, my woman has wanted to learn how she can be in right relationship with and to, because I feel so abundant and chasing the number doesn't feel abundant for me. And so to meet so many people that block themselves from the life that they want because of money, or think that they can't create the money, or think that there's only one way to make money or be with money, or think that money is the root of all evil. I believe that most people, if they had the money that they want in their bank account today, would live their lives very differently.
Yeah.
And that's a crazy concept to think about. They're like, If I waved a magic wand and I put $100 million into my bank account today, I wouldn't do my life any differently. I just do it on a bigger scale. I would live my life this way. This is how I want to live. And I believe that that is creating an energetic match within me to my desires. So for humans to sit down and think, well, $100 million in my bank account today and I don't live my life like this, shouldn't that be a very eye-opening experience for you, that you're not living your life and you're living your life subject to the mercy of money?
Yes.
So therefore, then what is money to you? Is it a power? Is it an energy? And for me, it's something that I believe that we get to be in right relationship with so that we can live our lives in a way that feels aligned to us versus working for money. And once I work for enough money, then I can live my life. Life is wanting to be lived now, and the money will come, I believe. The money is on the other side of humans unlocking their truest essence, living committed to that, bringing your unique magic and your unique medicine online. And when your on button is switched entirely on, that's where I believe the path reveals itself. And on the path is the partner, and on the path is the career, and on the path is the creativity, and on the path is the community and the friends and the sex and the love and the money, because you are living abundantly from your essence. That's what I believe money is.
Mic drop. That was beautifully said. Yeah, what you reminded me when you said if I had $100 million in the bank, my life wouldn't really be different. I'd just play bigger. I would do more of what I'm doing and use it as an amplifier. There's a quote I heard: if no amount of money would change how you currently live, you're already rich.
Yes.
You're living a rich life. And what does rich mean? Not necessarily just financially, but rich in the currency of happiness, of meaning, of alignment, of confidence. Heck yes to all of that. Sex. Potentially the most powerful force in the world, the creation force of life itself.
Yeah.
You know, at the moment of climax, the most common thing said between partners is, oh my God.
Yes.
It's bliss, right? Gets distorted, gets used in strange ways. It's not always easy to talk about it because people have shame around it, shouldn't talk about it. I'm curious as well in particular, because I think women are the gatekeepers of sex, largely speaking.
Yeah.
And by not like fully owning that, they suppress their own power in so many ways. So I'm just kind of pontificating here on what it means to me, but what does sex mean to you?
Sex to me is the place where I feel personally the most feminine, the most expressed, and the most myself. It is somewhere where I feel incredibly powerful and just liberated. And I feel it can be the most beautiful force for lovemaking, for creativity, for feeling yourself, for feeling how powerful you are, and for meeting parts of yourself that are not accessible just through walking around day-to-day life. I also feel like sex is such a beautiful vehicle to access discernment and your own truth. I think women know when we've given ourselves to someone that we didn't want to give ourselves to, or if we've given ourselves to someone where there was an exchange that we wanted out of the interaction or validation that we desired, or choose me or pick me energy, or I'm lonely. I just think that if we're in right relationship with sex, we get to experience more pleasure in the rest of our life as well, more abundance, more creativity, more passion, more eros. Like, I love being a very alive woman. And so sex to me is the act of making love and a woman being in her full expression.
Yeah, I resonate with a lot of that. It's very intimate. It's very vulnerable, right? You're literally in the most vulnerable space you can share with another human being.
Yeah.
Boundaries dissolve, clothes are off, like we're seeing all parts of each other, internally, externally, feeling each other in different ways. And if it's used as a conscious expression, not just this transactional thing that it can be for so many, it's medicinal. It's so medicinal. It's so bonding. It's so life-giving, literally. I just worry sometimes, I think obviously through the male perspective and not having mentors or good healthy relationships around sex, and just you get given porn at an age where you can't understand that, and then it becomes very transactional and you think sex is just what you see mimicked through the screens, and then you have to go through some icky experiences that weren't fun for you and weren't fun for her. All that to say, like, finally coming through, I've been in an unbelievably amazing relationship for 13 years now. And that's another thing too, like the sex has gotten deeper and better and more intimate and more connecting and more medicinal, and the frequency might change, but the intensity and the intimacy of it just deepens and strengthens. And I hope people can get there with that, because I feel like there's a lot that don't experience what it can be, you know, and it's, you know, I think there's a lot of like shame around it, like religious baggage, trauma, sexual trauma, all kinds of
dating
reasons.
rules, don't have sex with them too fast, don't wait too long.
Right. Oh, but what's your body count? Like all of this stuff just like adds so much shit to the soup, you know, of what is magic.
Yes. I mean, what I have noticed with my friend recently, and then the last man that I was intimate with was like maybe coming up to 2 years before, where there was a beautiful connection. They both started as friends, and the level of intimacy that I was able to experience with them was so different.
Right.
Because there is the depth of connection. And I think that's, you know, I feel I don't love women feeling like they have to abide by so many rules when it comes to dating. But I do think if you're ready for deep intimacy and deep passion and deep connection, then it's beautiful to focus on the connection beyond sex.
Yeah.
For you to actually experience the depth of sex that your woman is aching for.
Yeah. Yeah. Very well said. Complete the trifecta for me. Love. What does love mean for you? You've mentioned you're currently being all that you can be to call in your man, the right man for love. What is love? What is love? What is searching for love like for you? Tell me about that.
Well, I don't think as women we search for love. Even my friend, he was like, I know that you're in your find your husband season. I'm like, I'm not finding him. I'm ready. I think there's a very different energy between finding a man and being ready for a man. And I think finding has like some grabby, where is he? I walk into the coffee shop, is he around?
Like foraging energy.
Yes. Yeah. Whereas ready is like, I know I've done the work. I know I'm ready to love and be loved. And I'm so committed to living my life fully and living from my essence that I know if I'm committed to that, there is no other outcome that's possible other than my match to course collide on my path at the right time, on God's timing. But love for me is a woman feeling safe enough within herself to live from an open heart, and for me to experience the sweetest, most pure aspects of myself, knowing that I'm safe to experience them and share them.
Yeah.
I think going through so much pain and trauma with men, you know, assaulted, different sexual experiences that were not okay, the sexual health experience that created a lot of pain and a lot of anger and a lot of resentment with men. I was very much like pointing, like, you created my pain. If you hadn't done this to me, I would be okay. My body would be okay. You have literally taken my freedom from me. And so for 10 years, I lived mad, angry with men. I was not kind. I was not sweet. I was not generous. I was not loving. All the parts of me that I thought got me hurt, I then denied. I was like, no. The sweet parts of me will create pain with men. Therefore, I will not give that to you. But by not being willing and feeling safe internally to offer it, it meant that I robbed myself from experiencing that within me. Yeah. So love for me is a woman feeling so safe internally in her nervous system and having the capacity to hold herself no matter what happens, because life we can't control, so that we can share the sweetest parts of ourselves, the most vulnerable, authentic, raw, beautifully feminine parts. And that to me is love. Like that's what I said to my friend when we were like, let's go back to being friends. And I said, this was so beautiful that we got to have this for the time that we did. And he said, what was beautiful about it? I was like, it was beautiful for me because I got to offer you my favorite parts of me and you receive them. But then I got to experience myself being that way, which is my favorite part of my woman. And that to me is a woman just in love with herself.
When a woman does this kind of work and they get integrated in this way, how powerful is the awakened woman?
How powerful is the unawakened woman when she's in a bad mood? Like right. You can fuck some serious shit up. Yeah. And so I believe that an awakened woman will stand next to a man and he's already an amazing man and he will become 100 times a man with her by his side. We get to be muses and the aliveness and the magic and the art of life if we know that about ourselves. If we know that we're powerful, unawakened and in a bad mood, imagine who you are when your aliveness and your eros and your yes and your truth is turned all the way on. Yeah. When you're no longer living from fear, what might be possible then? One of my, actually Adam Rower was on my podcast recently and he said, what you can imagine is a limitation. And the thought of that blew my mind. I was like, what do you mean? Like manifestation says that I see it and then I, will it into existence and I believe it and then I achieve it. And he's like, yes, and there's a limitation. And I was thinking, some of the best things that have happened in my life, I never would have imagined. And so if you can imagine how powerful you are in a bad mood and unawakened, what might be possible for your life with your yes, with your essence, with your eros turned all the way on.
Yeah. I thought you might say something like that.
Powerful as
fuck.
Yes.
Powerful as fuck. Yeah. It's interesting because what you said about a man standing by a woman that's integrated and awakened. And you know what was really interesting? I've always had a strong wife. She's incredibly tapped in and strong and loving and fierce. She's got that Italian background.
Oh, get it, girl.
She's got it, But she also went through becoming a mother. Yes. And the backstory there is the first pregnancy was great. The delivery didn't go to plan. We ended up being basically a last-minute emergency C-section, which was very traumatic for her. Not what she wanted, wounding for me because I missed my opportunity to really create security and safety. So go a few years, get pregnant again, and she reclaimed her power in the most crazy way, which was like, I'm not having anything to do with the medical establishment this time. We're going to have a wild pregnancy and a free birth. And I caught my son at home, and that will, talk about power. She basically said afterwards, just like, there's no going back. Like when you realize you can do that on your own, you create life, you are the vessel for life, and you take that from a pretty good foundation anyway, and then you add that to it. It's just like the power there is immense, and it amplified me. It really did that. It's a little bit intimidating to stand in that, and I do think most men are scared of women. That's like the cultural trope, like we're terrified of women, we don't want to get rejected by them, we don't want to approach them, we don't want to get me too'd. Like there's all this stuff going on. But it's because we feel that deep power within, if it is uncaged, if it is integrated, because we know, like, there's something in the man that knows, like, women are it, dude. Like, they create all the life. Just because we're in bigger, stronger bodies, we have this illusion that we, like, lead things because that will lead as a men and stuff, but we don't lead shit. It's a dance. It's a yin and yang. And coming together in that union is beautiful. And I think it's, to get deeply philosophical, I think it's the path forward for us as a culture is really remembering that and integrating that, because I think right now, like the dominator culture that we've created is very masculine dominated. And that's nothing to say that masculine is wrong by any means, but it's masculine led from the unawakened masculine side of things. It's just rape the earth, pillage the soil, consume everything, discount the feminine, actually teach fear of the feminine. Control it, teach, associate the feminine with darkness. Darkness is weird. We call it witchcraft. Never say wizardcraft. It's always witches doing weird things, worshipping nature, the darkness. Just complete disconnection from the mother earth, mother nature. And I think if we're to move forward in a more hopeful and holistic way, it has to reintegrate that powerful awakened feminine. But it's been hard because the feminine has been repressed, and the systems that we live in are masculine dominated. And I think, that there's something to this, what you're trying to do, what the message that you're saying is tantamount to that realization, because that's not going to come top down. The government's not going to walk in and be like, oh, by the way, women, you're really powerful, you should awaken yourself. No, it's a grassroots movement. It's through women reclaiming their own power, encouraging other women to do it, and then hopefully the awakened masculine meeting them there and creating, a more beautiful world that is possible if we can meet ourselves there. But if we just keep doing what we've always done, we're going to get what we've always gotten. That's why I'm inspired by conversations like this, because I think it's bigger than just the personal sovereignty. I think it ripples out into everything. Yeah, and
that's a part of why I kind of like my Angry at Men season, because it's so relatable. And women get, you have one or two choices. You stay angry, and sure, you can, and it's very justified because there are so many things that have happened that are just not okay.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure I could list 30 from like capital T traumas to little t traumas. Not to mention day-to-day things that just, like I went to Whole Foods about a few months ago. Last trip I was here, and I saw a man spot me in Whole Foods, and I could tell immediately, like, whoa, he's attracted to me. And I felt like he's kind of following me around Whole Foods right now. Pay for my food, get into my car, don't think anything of it. Next minute, he's at my window. Like, even that is just not okay. I was like, lock the door. What part of you thought that would feel good for me?
Right,
like that,
right.
Like women are experiencing that daily. It doesn't feel nice for us. And yet we want, like, I'm a big advocate for men approaching us in public, but there's an art and a skill to it. So we can stay mad with men. We can be very justified for why we are mad with men. We can look out in the world and get more evidence daily, like the Whole Foods guy, why we should stay mad with men and why men are unsafe. But I think we get to a point as women and say, what do I really want? And do I want love? And do I want love with men? And like, I got to a point where I was like, my man is not going to respect me. He'll understand why I am angry, but he's not going to respect me disrespecting other men. He's not going to respect me emasculating men. He's not going to respect me being angry with men. And I say that I want the family unit and I want to be in love with my man. So at some point, I have to heal those parts within me and not expect him to rise to support my healing. And then keep my standards high. I think this is what women forget. Do the healing and then raise your standards and do not let them drop, and expect that the right men will raise and meet you there and rise and meet you there. And anyone else that tries that can't match, let them do whatever they're doing and go on their own healing journey. But you've done your work. You know who you are. You've forgiven and created acceptance around the past. You're at peace within yourself. Men will rise to that.
Yes.
If you give them the opportunity.
They love a challenge.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's what I think the work is. Or just stay mad and don't experience love for the rest of your life. It's
that'll end well. Yeah. But I love that you said, kind of like lay the gauntlet down to men, challenge them. I love this reframe of don't call out, call in. We're calling you in to raise the standard. Not just because we're saying like you should raise the standard. No, because we are also doing it. It's collaborative. And relationship might be the most important decision you ever make in your life. Like the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with, potentially create life with, be intimate with, it's a very, very important decision. And you should not sacrifice the great for the good. You shouldn't just be like, okay. You know, they say if it's not a fuck yeah, it's a hell no. Yes. I think that really applies to relationships. But if you want the fuck yeah, you also have to be doing the work, right? You've got to be evolving. You've got to be doing it. I've heard you talk about the importance of leverage, you know, like kind of having a why. And one of the things you referenced is you kind of ask yourself, would my partner be inspired by that? As like a rubric for informing what you do. I think that's a wonderful frame. Yeah, talk to me about leverage.
Yeah, leverage is the why for underneath the thing that you're doing. And being so connected to that, like it's nice to think that you're going to heal your wounds with men, but it's probably easier to stay mad when every single day we've got things like the Whole Foods guy coming up to us. We're going to find evidence every day why we shouldn't do the hard thing. It's nice to think that you go to the gym and lose the weight and keep your body in shape, but why? And finding leverage that is like defining success, defining leverage that is meaningful enough to you to take the hard action, because all of these things, like I was committed to being pissed off with men. I was like, it was my truth, like radical truth that he created my pain. And if those men had showed up in different ways, I would not be where I am. I was fixated on it. And so at some point I had to decide like, that's hard, and also healing is hard.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to look at hard parts of myself and like parts of myself I don't really like. That's hard to like shine a mirror on myself. But what is my leverage? Why would I do that? For my partnership, for my family, for my 4 babies that I would love to have. Healing my money wounds means looking at all the places with money that I'm out of integrity. That's hard. Some people are terrified to open their bank accounts or check their statements, or they're just terrified at the conversation of money. But also living painfully in the experience of money is also hard. So the leverage is the financial freedom that you ache for every day. And that's going to, if you're connected to the leverage, then doing the hard thing will be a little easier because you understand why you're doing it.
Yeah.
I had a client years ago. She wanted to lose weight. Now my journey started in disordered eating. I had over a 10-year long eating disorder. She wanted to lose 5 kilos so that she could take her boy. No, she wanted to lose 5 kilos. She didn't understand why. She just wanted to look good in her bathers and not experience shame. She had done Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, keto, macros, every single thing. She'd always stack the weight back on because 5 kilos, 10 kilos, 12 kilos, or whatever it is in pounds for Americans didn't mean anything to her.
Right. It's arbitrary.
Yes. So I was like, what's your leverage? And she got to a place where she realized that every summer she would hide her boys in her backyard. She literally purchased a home with a swimming pool so that when her sons asked to go to the beach, she would not have to say yes to the beach and she would not have to be seen in her bathers at the beach. She could hide them in the swimming pool. She couldn't understand why she kept gorging, kept eating. Her leverage became building sandcastles with her boys at the beach.
Yeah.
Once she was connected to that, the hard action of consistency with the gym, consistency with the food that she ate became easier because 5, 10 kilos, pounds meant nothing to her. Building sandcastles with her boys meant everything.
Right.
And I think that's what we forget. We think of leverage like, I want to make more money, but why?
Yeah.
I want to heal my wounds with men, but why? Find your leverage, and then taking the hard action. It's still going to be hard, but it's going to be hard with leverage underneath it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it's that you choose your hard kind of thing.
Yes.
It's going to be hard now anyway, or it's going to be hard to do this, but in the hope of getting what you want and investigating why you want it.
Yes.
You know, that's really important distinction there. All right, as we start to get ready to kind of bring this one into land, I would be remiss not to ask you about this, because whenever I do like Q&As, question boxes on Instagram or Q&A for podcasts or whatever, people ask me this question all the time, and I feel like I've not got a good answer for it because I'm out of the scene.
Right.
It's like, how do you navigate dating? Like, what do you think of the apps, like modern dating? How do I find my person? What should I do? And I'm like, I've been married for a decade.
Yes.
You know, I've been together for 13 years. I don't know. When I met my wife, if somebody had met on an app at that time, they were weirdos.
Yes.
Because like 13 years ago, nobody was on date. Now everyone's on dating apps. What's your take on all of this? How do you date in the modern landscape?
Well, I've got a lot of confidence. So I love like smiling and dropping my feminine energy in the real world. So if I believe in women dropping the hanky.
Yeah.
And creating an opening for men to approach us, which would look like, say I saw a gorgeous man in the coffee shop this morning and I wanted him to know that I thought he was gorgeous. I would maybe walk up to him and say, hey, my name's Rebecca and I just wanted to let you know that you have the most beautiful smile. And then I would hold his eye contact for a few seconds and walk away. And that to me is an example of a woman saying, here I am.
Mm-hmm.
And if you'd like to ask me for my number, you could. If you wanted to say something back, you can. And if you're married, you just got a compliment, no problem.
Right.
So that's how I personally navigate it. I've been on dating apps in the past. I've done it because I am confident enough to see and speak to men in the real world. And I've used them when I'm so busy and have wanted to go on a date. I'm like, well, I'm not going to meet a man in my personal development community. He's not going to walk into my podcast, and I'm working, like I'm in a nonstop working season right now. So let's utilize it to meet some people. And I'm just in a different season. Like I moved to Bali 3 years ago, broke up with my vanilla boyfriend. And so I was just a yes to life and a yes to my aliveness. And I said to God, bring me the men that are going to connect me so deeply to the woman that I know that I'm here to be, to turn my aliveness on, my sensuality on, my eros on, and for me to express myself fully. And so I believe that like God is my matchmaker. God is my matchmaker, and He'll just send a wave of a man. And that happened throughout my single season until I was like, whoa, that energy now going with the flow of life. My single season is complete. I experienced everything that I wanted to experience in my single days. And then I said to God, right, I'm complete. Bring me a man to show me that my time is up. So the one man that I had been with in the past 15, 20 months came last year, and we had the most beautiful experience. And then God said to me, that's your single season done. And now I've said, bring me the men that are setting me up for my husband, and or bring me my husband. And I just believe that God will send the wave, which is why when my friend and I, our energy shifted, I was so curious about it, because I've always seen him as a friend. I've never been attracted to him, but I removed every man's energy from my life, and all of a sudden he appeared. And so my take on dating is trust that God's your matchmaker and get in the game.
Well, I love that. And ask and you shall receive.
Yeah.
Just send a little, hey, big fella, help us out down here.
I mean, I feel like I'm so connected to myself that when I knew that I needed to have my single season, I allowed myself to experience it fully. And once it was fully experienced, I was able to be like, whoa, there's nothing more left for me here. Done. Now bring me the intentional men that I'm ready for, because I say I'm ready for partnership. I don't want casual. I don't want casual sex. I don't want to be intimate with someone before we've got connection. So bring me that man now.
Lovely. Okay, last one. Guys, I feel deep down, they do want to approach women. They're a little intimidated. I think most women want to be approached.
We do.
But you guys don't want the whole food guy. You don't want the creeper at your window, making you lock the doors. So as a woman, from the woman's perspective, how should a guy approach a woman?
Yes. I love this, because women do want to be approached by men. It is an art. And I think the men that are not artful in it can destroy it for women and men, because now men are like, I don't want to be the Whole Foods guy. I just think if to not come at us with grabby energy, to respect the space. Like, you know, coming up to my window created a shock in my body. But a man walking up to a woman, standing a meter from her and just offering her a compliment and saying, hey, I just noticed you from afar and I wanted to come over and introduce myself to you. My name is Stuart. She's going to pause for a moment and just be able to hold that and be like, oh, hi, it's nice to meet you. It's if you can approach without an agenda and offer something that is real and true without crossing a physical boundary, and just the lightness of introducing yourself, I feel like she's going to be able to give you the cue whether she's available for it or not.
Yep.
I don't think it's that hard. It's just coming and approaching without agenda, without trying to take something, and without trying to cross a physical boundary.
Yeah.
And if you create an opening, see how she interacts with that opening. An open woman will look at you and be like, oh, well, Stuart, it's so nice. I know your name's not Stuart, but like using Stuart as our example right now. Stuart, it's so nice to meet you. Why did you think of coming over and saying hi? Like, oh, I saw your blue eyes from afar and I just thought you were beautiful and I knew I needed to meet you.
Yeah.
Are you single? Like, great, let's have a conversation.
Yeah. Make it a bit easier. It doesn't have to be so complicated. You don't need a rehearsed line. You don't need to necessarily crack a joke. I know the kids, talk about aura. As long as it's not faked, as long as you're just like real and open and honest and confident of the capability that you can be, and just like, hello, I noticed you, like that can be good enough. I think so many men, and I think this is perpetuated through media, they're terrified that like if girls aren't receptive to that message that they're going to be really mean. And I don't think that is always I think it can be, but I don't think that's always the case as long as you approach in the right energy.
Well, I went viral recently, at the beginning of the year, around I love American men. Like, I will pull up to the petrol station and a man will see me pull up and he'll wait at the door and hold the door open for me and be like, have a beautiful day, ma'am. At the coffee shop, men will hold the door open for me. I'll have no coffees in my hand and men will have 2 coffees in their hands, and they'll like awkwardly hold the door open so that I don't hold the door open. It's just such a different experience here. And I know we're in the South, we're in Texas, but men have a different, in my experience, respect and reverence for women that I'm not used to in Australia. But women really want that. And when I put this on the internet, Australian men, like thousands of comments, said that if we hold the door open for a woman in Australia, she will scream at us and say, I can do it myself. Do you think that I'm weak? And we've been berated and shamed and put down that many times and yelled at that I'm not holding a door open for a woman anymore. The Me Too movement has destroyed it. Feminism destroyed it. My rebuttal to that is, if that's who you innately are as a man, if you're a man who holds doors open for women, don't stop just because one woman's angry. I'd just let go of the door and say, hey,
she
I
weren't
didn't
the
mean
one,
to
bro.
offend. Please reopen the door yourself. But I say, be who you are, and if that's the kind of woman that you'd like to call into your world, then continue doing it.
Yeah.
And yes, there are angry women out there, but there are also women, like the women that I work with, who are opening their hearts and they're aching for a man to approach them. It doesn't have to be hard. I've been at coffee shops and a man's come over to me and been like, I noticed you from afar and I couldn't not say hi. Like, that doesn't take a lot. And if I'm interested, I'll say hello. And if I'm not interested, I will still be polite back, because I respect the courageous act of being an approach. And I also respect the courageous act of being an approach and him doing it artfully. And I'll still be like, it's so nice to meet you and I really appreciate you coming up. Women love this, and please keep doing it. Like, I will validate and encourage even if I'm not desiring anything from the interaction.
I love it. Fellas, we're being called in.
Yes.
Chivalry is not dead.
Yes.
Don't let it die. Come on.
Exactly, because if it is who you innately are, you're literally
shrink.
curating and masking and shrinking yourself to validate these wounded women. So don't. Be the man that you are. And if the wounded women respond and react, just like lightly put your hands up and say, hey, I didn't mean to offend you. Have a beautiful day. And just walk in a different direction. But be who you are.
Boom.
We want it. Women want it. We're aching for it. We're hungry for it.
We
don't want to be on the apps. We're dying for it. That's what I love about America. They shoot their shot and they have no fear of rejection.
You heard it. Rebecca Antonucci. A pleasure. Fun conversation. Where can people go to keep up with what you're doing?
Yeah, they can come over to my IG at rebecca.antonucci, and they can find me on Instagram, Sex, Love and Money Podcast.
This has been fun. You heard the woman herself. Go on. Let's go find your missus right too. Create the space. Be the man that we're calling you in to be. And if the women are listening, go follow Rebecca for all of the content that she provides. It's wonderful. And we'll see you next week. Thank you, Rebecca. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Radical Health Radio. If you liked that episode, the good news is we've got hundreds of others just like it, and YouTube thinks you would love this one in particular. So I think you should check it out. We'll see you next week.